Okay. Um, I'm not really sure how this app works, so I hope it's recording. But I have no clue if I'm still recording or not. Let's see. Okay, it is. Alright, here we go. The San Francisco Bay Terror, The Zodiac Killer by Garamax sued for Mrs. Taylor's class, Blended Art. It's November 16th, 2017. On the right, you can see a picture of the first cipher that the Zodiac Killer sent in to the SF Gate Chronicle in San Francisco when he first began to start his killings. The Zodiac. The Zodiac Killer was a famous unknown killer known for several murders in the San Francisco Bay region over an extended period of time from 1968 to 1969. The fame built around the Zodiac is one, the fact that to this day nobody knows who he or she was, and the fact that the Zodiac craved media attention and completely brought them into play with this case. The Zodiac Killer became very well known after sending in multiple ciphers claiming that this is the Zodiac speaking, and also taking credit for the murders within the region, and that the cops would never catch him. To your right, you can see a sketch of the Zodiac that was given in by one of the victims. To this day, the Zodiac has still been not caught for these murders, and for years past his murders, he sent in letters taunting the cops, claiming that they would never catch him for his crimes. These are 6 of the 7 victims that were linked to the Zodiac Killer. He claimed to have killed over 37 in his ciphers to the press, but he was actually only linked to 7. People believe that he may have claimed 37 to actually give himself more fame, as he was so obsessed and craved that media attention that when claiming that he killed over 37, he was able to convince the people that he was even crazier than he really was. The Zodiac's first victims were David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, who were shot and killed at gunpoint in Faraday's mother's car while at a popular Lover's Lane spot. They were 2 teens out having a good night and happened to pick the wrong place at the wrong time, as that ended very poorly for them. The Zodiac did attempt to go on and kill 5 more victims over the span of the next year, and only successfully killed 3 of them, leaving 2 survivors to tell the tale, one in which in the end may have identified him. These survivors then went on to say he was a man who wore a mask and simply was doing this for one reason, to kill and for the thrill. They claimed he didn't say anything to them but only began his killings shortly after encountering his victims. The first theory I have on who the Zodiac Killer could be is Arthur Lee Allen. Arthur Lee Allen was the only suspect to ever actually be investigated by the police in the Zodiac Killer case, and had many connections that seemed to link him to the killer's motives. Allen was fired from his job as a janitor at an elementary school for sexual harassment towards students, giving him a criminal background that could allow for him to possibly be the Zodiac Killer. Allen also happened to grow up as neighbors to the very first victim of the Zodiac Killer. He was only a 30-foot walk to her house for over 11 years of his life, which is very coincidental in the fact that he may or may not have been the killer. He was the first suspect as the Zodiac Killer for talking to one of his colleagues at work and stating, "Have you ever thought of hunting people?" This is significant as in the letters of the Zodiac, he stated that hunting humans was the most fun he could ever have, and this actually ties back into a play called The Most Dangerous Game about a man who hunts on an island and decides to hunt humans as animals have become no fun for him anymore. Allen was questioned by the police for these killings, and when being questioned, it happened that he was wearing a Zodiac brand watch, which is very, very strange and coincidental. Just to be wearing that watch and also having to talk to his colleagues, many things began to tie him in, possibly to being the killer. Allen was also identified viewing the opening play of The Most Dangerous Game, which is, as described before, the play about a man who hunts humans for the thrill, just as the Zodiac had stated in his letters that he began to hunt humans as that was most fun for him. Some reasons as to why Allen was dropped from the investigation of the case is that when they did search his house after receiving a search warrant, they found handwriting within to compare to the Zodiac ciphers, and a professional stated there was no way that Allen wrote those letters as the handwritings did not match. Allen was also never caught with any factual evidence that he was the killer, making it very difficult for police to convict him of this crime. Allen also had an alibi for the time period of the first killings as he was clocked in at work cleaning the school when the first two victims were attacked. On the right, you can see a picture of Allen depicted in the movie Zodiac in 2007. This is what the director had pictured him to look like, a very smug and large man. The second theory is that Kajal Cavale was the Zodiac killer. Kajal Cavale was suspected by few but some as the Zodiac killer, as he happened to be out walking his dog shortly after the last known Zodiac murder involving the taxicab. Kajal was a very self-made, wealthy, respected man in the area, and would very possibly be able to hide these suspicions with no one ever questioning him as he was a role model and figure within his city. On the right, you can see a picture of Kajal shown at Auto Week as he was a huge car enthusiast and mogul within the San Francisco area. Kajal Cavale was seen out with his dog just outside of the murder scene after the last Zodiac killing. Many people question whether or not he was playing the role of a citizen and watching what he had just accomplished, as many known serial killers love to see how it plays out after what they have done. Kajal Cavale was also known to be able to change a car tire in under 3 minutes, which could ultimately link him to another Zodiac murder where he pulled over and helped tighten a lady's lug nuts. When he really loosened them to cause her to pull over, and he ultimately killed her. This would show that Kajal had his experience in being able to loosen the lug nuts and bolts and having the right idea to know how much to loosen them before they would fall off. Kajal was also known to be a big hunter, which would link him to the same idea of how the Zodiac enjoys to hunt humans. If Kajal Cavale were the killer, he could have easily just walked back into his house and remained hidden to witness his accomplishments and have no threat of ever being questioned by police or media, which is what he most likely would have done if that be the case. Kajal Cavale ultimately had an alibi with his wife, stating he was in his home when the killing exactly took place and took the dog out for its routine walk shortly after the Zodiac committed the last murder. This took Kajal ultimately away as a suspect, but still left conspirators with some room to speculate and wonder whether or not it was possibly him. My theory on the Zodiac killer: after reviewing all the evidence available to me, there's only one suspect that the Zodiac killer could have possibly been: Arthur Lee Allen. There is just too many coincidences that link him to the murders for it to not be him. If you check this link above, you can see a video describing all the evidence that's incriminating Allen as the murderer, even though he was never actually found guilty in the court of law. With Allen growing up 30 feet away from the first victims, having a criminal past, and even wearing a Zodiac watch, there wasn't much of a way you couldn't say it was him. The next slide you'll see where there is even more evidence that incriminates him as the killer. After reviewing all the evidence again, Allen is still the prime suspect to me. Allen was also identified as the killer by one of his surviving victims. When shown a picture of Allen, the victim broke down and immediately picked him out as his attacker, stating, "I'll never forget that face." To me, and this is the most shocking piece of evidence with Allen, is after he died of a heart attack in jail for a child molestation charge that he was found of in 1974, not one Zodiac letter has popped up back in the news, nor did another letter pop up once he was incarcerated. Also, the letters that were frequently coming in before his incarceration immediately stopped once he was sentenced to prison, which could speculate you to believe as he was in prison, he was no longer to write the letters to the San Francisco Chronicle without being caught by the government, therefore forcing him to stop participating in his acts as the Zodiac. With all this evidence, this is why I believe Arthur Lee Allen must have been the Zodiac killer. This is my works cited for the project. Thank you for your time and listening. I appreciate it very much. Have a great rest of your day.